What if the answers to life's deepest questions already lie within you, waiting to be unlocked? Imagine, for a moment, that silence holds the key to your most profound transformation. It's not the absence of sound that holds power, but the profound energy that arises when we embrace stillness. In a world filled with noise, chaos, and endless distractions, the idea of silence may seem mundane, something to be avoided, perhaps. But what if I told you that true wisdom and spiritual power are hidden in this very silence? For centuries, mystics, sages, and philosophers have known that the quietest moments are often the most sacred. Silence, they say, is the doorway to the divine, a medium through which the soul can connect to the infinite. In this video, we will embark on a journey through the ancient teachings that illuminate the spiritual power of silence. We will explore its significance in esoteric wisdom, uncover the secrets it holds for personal growth, and reveal practical steps that can help you harness its transformative potential. But first, before we journey deeper, take a moment to reflect on your own relationship with silence. Is it something you seek or avoid? Is it a source of peace, or does it feel unsettling? The answers you find may be more profound than you expect. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, as we dive deeper into the ancient, mysterious power of silence and explore how you can unlock its transformative force in your life. The concept of silence has echoed through the ages, woven into the teachings of the most profound spiritual traditions. From the ancient sages of the East to the mystics of the West, silence has been recognized as not merely the absence of sound, but as a powerful force in itself, an entryway into deeper understanding and spiritual enlightenment. One of the earliest and most famous references to silence comes from the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Hindu text. In it, Lord Krishna speaks of silence of the mind as a key to connecting with the divine. Silence, in this context, is more than just a cessation of noise. It is the stilling of the inner chatter, the mental and emotional noise that clouds our perception of reality. Through this stillness, the soul can awaken, perceiving a deeper layer of existence. Similarly, in the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist text attributed to Laozi, silence is intertwined with the Tao, the mysterious flow of the universe. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know, Laozi writes, suggesting that true wisdom comes not from vocal expression but from quiet understanding. Here, silence is seen as the natural state of being, the source from which all things arise. It is the space from which the Tao flows, and through silence, we align ourselves with this eternal flow. But silence is not just a concept reserved for Eastern traditions. In the West, the idea of silence has also been deeply explored, particularly within the Christian mysticism of the early centuries. The Desert Fathers, a group of early Christian hermits and ascetics, sought refuge in the desert not only to escape the distractions of society but to find the divine in the silence of the wilderness. They believed that in silence, one could listen to God's voice more clearly, free from the noise of the outside world. St. John of the Cross, in his writings on the dark night of the soul, speaks of a deep, transformative silence that leads to union with the divine. This silence is not just an external stillness but an internal silence that allows for spiritual transformation and divine illumination. Throughout history, silence has been portrayed not only as an essential aspect of spiritual practice but also as a tool for personal transformation. In many mystical traditions, silence is seen as the conduit through which a higher consciousness is attained. It is in the quiet moments of reflection that we are most able to confront our true selves, our desires, our fears, and our beliefs. Through this process of self-confrontation, we are ultimately able to transcend our limitations and access the divine wisdom that resides within each of us. The silence spoken of by these ancient teachings is not simply the absence of sound, but rather the absence of ego. In the act of becoming silent, whether through meditation, retreat, or simply a moment of pause, we shed the layers of the self that cloud our judgment and perception. It is through silence that we learn to perceive beyond the surface, to touch the unseen and understand the invisible. So, what does this ancient wisdom tell us about the true nature of silence? It teaches us that silence is not something to be feared or avoided. Rather, it is something to be embraced as a sacred tool for self-realization, enlightenment, and communion with the divine. The silence we seek is not a void, but a rich, fertile ground where the seeds of wisdom, insight, and peace can be planted and nurtured. This historical context sets the stage for understanding how silence can be applied in our own lives. It is more than just an abstract idea. It is a practical and transformative practice that can be cultivated, offering profound personal and spiritual benefits. But how, in our modern, noisy world, can we begin to tap into this ancient power? Let's begin by exploring the core concepts behind the spiritual power of silence. To understand its profound influence, we must first consider silence not as something passive, but as an active force, a dynamic state that shapes our experience, both internally and externally. At its most fundamental level, silence is a return to the natural state of being. In a world that constantly demands attention, whether through technology, societal expectations, or the unending swirl of thoughts, silence is a rare and precious space. It's an invitation to step away from the noise, to disconnect from the external world, and reconnect with the deeper currents of existence. But what exactly happens in this sacred space? The silence of the mind, transcending thought. One of the key elements of spiritual silence is what many traditions call the silence of the mind. This form of silence involves quieting the constant stream of thoughts that we identify with, which often control our actions, emotions, and perception. It's not merely about stopping external noise, but more importantly, it's about stopping the internal noise, the relentless chatter of the mind that shapes our reality. Consider for a moment the analogy of a still pond. When the water is calm, you can see clearly to the bottom. But when the water is disturbed, whether by wind or stones, the surface becomes clouded, and clarity is lost. Our minds are much like this pond. When we are overwhelmed by thoughts, whether they are worries, desires, judgments, or expectations, our mental state becomes cloudy. It is in these moments of mental turbulence that we lose connection with our true self and the deeper truths of the universe. Silence, therefore, is the stillness that allows the waters of the mind to settle. When we quiet our mental noise, the clarity of our inner being becomes visible. It is in these moments of mental silence that we are able to experience true awareness, pure consciousness without the filters of ego or conditioned thought. This stillness leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves, and through this clarity, we can begin to align with the greater flow of life. Silence as a gateway to intuition. The deeper we move into the realm of silence, the more we access a space of profound intuition. In many ancient traditions, silence is seen as the gateway to higher wisdom. Without the distractions of the outer world and the constant barrage of thoughts, we become more attuned to the subtle wisdom that arises from the depths of our being. This intuitive wisdom is often described as inner knowing or gut feeling. It is a quiet voice that whispers to us from the depths of our soul. When we are silent, this voice can be heard more clearly. This is why, in moments of deep meditation or contemplation, we often gain insights that were previously inaccessible. In a world obsessed with logic, analysis, and external validation, silence is the bridge that connects us to a higher form of intelligence, a form that transcends the mind and reaches into the soul. Silence as a tool for healing. Silence is also a powerful tool for healing. In a world filled with noise, it is easy to become disconnected from our own emotions and needs. The constant bombardment of stimuli prevents us from fully tuning into ourselves. Silence, however, provides the space to confront our pain, process our emotions, and heal from within. The act of sitting in silence with ourselves, without distractions or external influences, creates the space for emotional release and healing. When we are silent, we can begin to hear the suppressed emotions and unspoken truths that lie buried beneath the surface. It is in this space of stillness that the body, mind, and spirit can realign, allowing the healing process to unfold naturally. This healing is not just emotional. Silence has also been shown to have physiological benefits. Studies have demonstrated that periods of silence can reduce stress levels, lower blood pressure, and improve heart health. But beyond the physical, the healing that silence offers is spiritual. It allows us to reconnect with our deeper self, facilitating a restoration of balance and harmony within our being. The power of sacred silence in rituals. Throughout history, silence has been an integral part of spiritual rituals and practices. In various esoteric traditions, silence is seen as the doorway through which the divine can enter our lives. It is in the silence of a ritual, whether in prayer, meditation, or sacred ceremony, that we open ourselves to the presence of something greater than ourselves. The mystics of old would often retreat into silence for days, weeks, or even months, seeking to commune with the divine. They understood that silence is not merely the absence of sound, but a powerful tool that clears the channels for spiritual communication. In this silence, one can experience divine presence, feel the energy of the cosmos, and tap into a wellspring of wisdom that transcends ordinary perception. Silence, in this context, becomes a form of divine communion, a way to connect with the sacred forces of the universe. It is in this sacred silence that one can experience enlightenment, not as an intellectual understanding, but as a direct, visceral encounter with the divine. The silence of the soul, transcending the ego. Perhaps the most profound form of silence is the silence of the soul. This is not just the quieting of thoughts or emotions, but the transcending of the ego itself. The ego, that part of ourselves that identifies with names, titles, roles, and labels, is the source of much of our suffering and confusion. It is through the ego that we experience separation and isolation from the world around us. In silence, the ego begins to dissolve. As we let go of our need for external validation and allow ourselves to simply be, we move closer to the essence of our true self. This egoic silence is not an absence, but a presence, a deep, radiant presence that is in perfect harmony with the universe. It is through this silence that we align with our higher purpose and connect with the soul's true calling. This silence is the essence of spiritual liberation. It is in the stillness of the soul that we find our ultimate freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of the ego, freedom from the noise of the world, and freedom to express our truest, most authentic self. Now that we've explored the fundamental aspects of the spiritual power of silence, let us dive deeper into its more nuanced and lesser-known facets. Silence, as we have seen, is not merely a tool for peace and reflection, but also a transformative force that can reshape the very fabric of our consciousness. In this second part, we will unravel these deeper layers and address the subtle complexities of silence, its contradictions, its hidden benefits, and the often unspoken challenges it presents. Silence as a mirror to the self. One of the most challenging aspects of silence is its ability to act as a mirror. When we embrace silence, we are faced with ourselves, unfiltered, raw, and often uncomfortable. In the absence of distraction, we can no longer hide from the inner turmoil or unresolved emotions that we carry. For many, this is a frightening prospect. Imagine standing before a mirror, not just to see your physical appearance, but to witness the very depths of your psyche. In silence, this mirror reflects our fears, insecurities, desires, and even our deepest shame. It is in these moments of stillness that we must confront the parts of ourselves we often avoid. But rather than retreating from this mirror, it is through this confrontation that true growth occurs. Silence, in this sense, is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of self-awareness. It strips away the facades and allows us to witness our most authentic self. The key, then, is not to shy away from this discomfort but to lean into it. It is in the silence that we can finally make peace with our inner conflicts and move toward true healing. The deeper we go into silence, the more we are given the opportunity to reprogram our thoughts, habits, and emotional responses, ultimately reshaping our self-identity and our connection to the world around us. The paradox of silence and speech. Silence, as we've discussed, holds profound spiritual power. However, there is a paradox within this concept. Speech, when used consciously, can also be an extension of silence. While silence offers a space to listen, speech can serve as a means to share that which has been discovered within the silence. In this way, silence and speech are not opposites but two sides of the same coin, each amplifying the other. In ancient traditions, there was a deep reverence for the spoken word. The Hebrews, for instance, believed in the divine power of words, which could shape reality itself. The famous, "Let there be light," from the book of Genesis exemplifies the belief that speech can manifest creation. Yet, the wisdom in these teachings suggests that words should not be spoken recklessly, but only after being fully contemplated in silence. In this context, silence is not just a passive state but an active one. One that prepares the mind and soul to speak with intention. When we cultivate silence, we develop the ability to speak more profoundly. The words that emerge from this state are not empty, but filled with the energy of the silence from which they spring. This is why some of the most powerful teachers, from Socrates to Buddha, often spoke little. Their silence gave them the clarity to choose their words with precision and wisdom, ensuring that every word carried deep meaning. Silence and the deepening of consciousness. As we continue to explore the power of silence, we must look at its role in expanding consciousness. Silence acts as a catalyst for spiritual awakening. It creates the space for the veil to be lifted, where the distractions of the material world no longer cloud our perception of the spiritual realm. It is in silence that we begin to tap into the deeper, cosmic forces that connect us all. Mystics and sages throughout history have spoken of the stillness before creation, the state of pure potential that existed before the universe took form. In silence, we can touch this primordial state. It is in the absence of all that we think we know that we come closest to experiencing reality as it truly is. Silence allows us to transcend the limitations of the ego and the physical senses, leading us to experience a direct connection to the infinite. This is not an intellectual understanding but a direct, lived experience. An encounter with the divine. Moreover, silence enhances our ability to enter altered states of consciousness. Whether through deep meditation, breathwork, or simply being present in the quiet of nature, silence helps us to access higher states of awareness. These states are often described as flow, oneness, or even enlightenment. In these moments, time seems to dissolve, and we become one with the universe. This experience is transformative, shifting the way we perceive ourselves and the world. Silence and the world around us. As we dive deeper into silence, it becomes apparent that this practice not only affects our internal world but also has a profound influence on the external world. In many spiritual traditions, it is taught that when we silence the mind, we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of the universe. This alignment opens us up to greater harmony, both within ourselves and with the world around us. Silence allows us to observe the world with greater clarity. The noise and distractions of daily life often drown out the subtler aspects of existence, small, beautiful moments that we might otherwise overlook. But in silence, we are more attuned to these moments, whether it is the rustle of leaves in the wind, the soft murmur of a stream, or the fleeting smile of a stranger. Silence helps us to be present in a way that we often forget, teaching us to embrace the quiet beauty of the world. In fact, many spiritual teachings encourage retreating into silence in nature as a way to reconnect with the earth. Nature, in its purest form, is silent, except for the occasional sound of the wind or the birds. In this silence, we come to understand the language of the earth, hearing not with our ears, but with our soul. Nature, in its quiet majesty, reflects the deep, still silence within us, and when we align with it, we can find a sense of peace and balance that transcends our daily struggles. The silence of surrender. One of the deepest aspects of silence is the silence of surrender, the surrender of the ego, the surrender of control, and the surrender to the divine. This silence is not a passive retreat, but an active yielding. It is the silence of complete trust, trust in the flow of life, trust in the process of the universe, and trust in the wisdom of the soul. In this surrender, we no longer fight against the currents of existence but allow ourselves to be carried by them, knowing that the universe is guiding us to exactly where we need to be. This type of silence is transformative, as it breaks down the walls of resistance and opens us to receive the blessings of the universe. It is in this silence that true freedom is found, the freedom to let go of the need to control, to fix, or to know. Instead, we embrace the mystery of life, trusting that each moment is unfolding in its perfect timing. Silence and transformation through solitude. While we've discussed the personal and spiritual benefits of silence, it's important to also address the transformative role of solitude in silence. Solitude allows for deep reflection and connection with the inner self. In solitude, silence takes on a new dimension, one that is active and contemplative. Solitude in silence provides an environment for deep personal growth and spiritual insight. It is in moments of solitude, where we are truly alone with our thoughts, that we begin to see our life from a different perspective. It is not about loneliness, but the clarity and freedom that arise when we step away from the influences of others. Just as the diamond is formed under pressure, silence in solitude can help us refine our thoughts and intentions, revealing the brilliance of who we truly are. In solitude, silence becomes a powerful alchemist. It transforms the mundane into the sacred. The practice of retreating into solitude allows us to shed the layers of external identity, returning to our pure essence. Many of the world's most enlightened figures, Buddha, Christ, and the great mystics, spent time in solitude as a way to purify their minds and connect with the divine. Solitude enhances silence's spiritual power, offering us an opportunity to see beyond the illusions of the world and find our true purpose. Silence in the context of sacred practices. In addition to the historical and spiritual traditions we've already explored, silence plays an integral role in many sacred practices and rituals across cultures. For example, in the practices of Zen Buddhism, the art of zazen, or sitting meditation, silence is the primary vehicle through which the practitioner can experience mindfulness and presence. The act of sitting in silence, simply observing the breath and thoughts, is seen as a way of transcending the ego and entering into a state of no mind. In the Christian tradition, contemplative prayer and the use of silence in the monastic life are crucial tools for connecting to God. The silence of the heart allows one to hear God's voice, not in words, but in a quiet, profound presence. Across these traditions, the emphasis on silence is unmistakable. It is not merely a temporary withdrawal from the noise of life, but an essential practice for connecting with the divine, the self, and the infinite. Silence in the collective consciousness. Silence also holds power not only on an individual level but in the collective consciousness. Think about moments in history when silence was a form of protest or solidarity, whether it was the silent marches during the civil rights movement or the silent treatment given to express discontent. These moments remind us that silence has collective significance and can communicate more than words ever could. In today's noisy, information-overloaded world, silence can also become a form of resistance. By consciously choosing silence, whether it's abstaining from unnecessary conversations or stepping away from the constant noise of social media, we reclaim our own energy and our own space. This reclaiming of silence is not just personal, but cultural, offering an opportunity for society to pause, reflect, and regain its balance. Now that we've uncovered the profound spiritual and philosophical aspects of silence, it's time to shift gears and explore how you can practically apply this power in your everyday life. The key to unlocking the full potential of silence is not just understanding its significance, but actively engaging with it in ways that foster personal growth, emotional healing, and spiritual awakening. The ancient teachings tell us that silence is not something we seek externally, but rather something we cultivate within. It is a practice, a sacred art that requires consistency, patience, and mindfulness. Here, we will explore practical steps you can take to harness the power of silence, allowing it to transform your life from the inside out. 1. Establish a daily practice of stillness. One of the most effective ways to begin working with silence is by incorporating it into your daily routine. Start small. You don't need to commit to hours of silent meditation right away. Begin with a few minutes each day. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably and close your eyes. Allow yourself to simply be. Do not focus on anything specific, just let the thoughts drift by like clouds. If your mind begins to race, gently return to the stillness. Over time, you can extend this practice. Aim for 10, 20, or even 30 minutes of silence each day. In the beginning, you may find it challenging to sit in silence. Your mind will rebel, filled with distractions and thoughts. But this resistance is part of the process. As you continue, you'll notice that the moments of stillness grow longer and deeper. Eventually, you will find that silence becomes an essential part of your daily rhythm, a source of inner peace and connection. 2. Use silence for emotional release. Silence isn't just for the mind, it's also a tool for emotional healing. Many of us carry emotional baggage that we've never fully processed, resentments, pain, or unexpressed feelings. These emotions often remain hidden beneath the surface, influencing our behavior and relationships. Silence can provide the space to face these emotions without the distractions of the external world. In a quiet environment, allow yourself to sit with whatever emotions arise. Don't try to force them away or push them down. Instead, observe them with compassion and understanding. Feel the sadness, anger, or frustration, and let it pass through you like a wave. In this space of silence, you allow your emotions to be acknowledged and released, bringing healing to the soul. 3. Practice mindful listening. Silence is not only a matter of withdrawing from external noise, but also of becoming more attuned to the world around you. One powerful way to do this is through the practice of mindful listening. In our fast-paced world, we often listen with the intention of responding, not fully absorbing what others are saying. But true listening, especially in silence, requires deep attention. The next time you have a conversation, practice silence in your listening. Pay attention to the speaker's words, body language, and the spaces between words. Instead of preparing your response, simply listen with full presence. This mindful silence allows you to connect more deeply with others, fostering empathy and understanding. In this space, you may find that you hear more than just words, you hear the emotions, the intentions, and the unspoken truth behind them. 4. Create sacred space for silence. If you're serious about deepening your relationship with silence, consider creating a dedicated sacred space in your home or environment. This doesn't need to be elaborate. It can be a small corner where you can sit quietly, free from distractions. Set the intention for this space to be a sanctuary of stillness and peace. You can enhance this sacred space with objects that inspire calmness, perhaps a candle, a crystal, a journal, or any items that resonate with you spiritually. This space will serve as a reminder to retreat into silence whenever you need to reconnect with your inner self. Treat this space as a place of reverence and rest, where the noise of the world has no access. 5. Silence in nature. Connecting with the earth. Nature is one of the most potent places to experience the power of silence. The stillness of the forest, the whisper of the wind, the rhythm of the waves, these natural sounds are the voice of the earth itself. Spending time in nature in silence allows us to reconnect with the universal flow and feel the presence of something greater than ourselves. Take a walk in a quiet park or venture into the wilderness, and spend time simply being. Allow the silence of nature to speak to you. Breathe in the stillness, feel the energy of the earth, and listen to the natural world. This practice of silent communion with nature will deepen your spiritual connection and help you cultivate inner peace. 6. The art of silent reflection. Another powerful way to use silence is through reflection. Often, we are so busy with the demands of life that we fail to reflect on our experiences, choices, or emotional states. Silence offers the perfect environment for introspection and self-reflection. Take a few moments each day to sit in silence and reflect on your thoughts, actions, and emotions. Ask yourself questions like, how do I feel today? What is troubling me? What am I grateful for? Allow the answers to arise naturally without judgment. The practice of silent reflection brings clarity and helps us make more conscious decisions, leading to a life that is more aligned with our true self. 7. Embracing the silence of surrender. One of the most profound practices in working with silence is embracing the silence of surrender. Surrender, in this sense, means letting go of control, of our desire to shape, manage, or fix everything around us. When we surrender to the silence, we trust that everything will unfold as it should. This practice can be especially transformative when we are facing challenges. Rather than constantly battling against circumstances or trying to force outcomes, we can enter into silence, surrendering our need for control. This silence is not passive resignation, but an active choice to trust in the process of life. In this state of surrender, we often find that solutions emerge naturally, or we gain insights that guide us forward. The power of silence is not just a mystical concept, it is a tangible, transformative practice that can reshape every aspect of your life. By incorporating silence into your daily routine, using it as a tool for emotional release, and applying it to your relationships and spiritual practices, you can unlock its profound power and experience a life of greater clarity, peace, and connection. Now, take a moment to reflect. How will you begin to incorporate more silence into your life? Perhaps it's time to find that quiet space, to step away from the noise, and embrace the stillness. As you do, you may discover a hidden world of wisdom and insight, waiting for you to unlock its secrets. As we reach the end of our exploration into the spiritual power of silence, we are left with a profound understanding of its depth, its beauty, and its transformative potential. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, but a sacred space, an invitation to step into the unknown, to encounter the divine, and to reconnect with the very essence of our being. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered how silence allows us to transcend the noise of the world and tap into deeper wisdom, healing, and connection. It is the silence of the mind that brings clarity, the silence of the heart that opens us to empathy, and the silence of the soul that leads us to spiritual awakening. Silence is the fertile ground from which all transformation grows. But the true power of silence lies not in theoretical understanding, but in its practical application. As you incorporate silence into your life, whether through daily moments of stillness, mindful listening, or sacred reflection, you begin to experience the profound changes that silence can bring. In these moments of quiet, you will find not emptiness, but a rich presence, one that connects you to the deepest parts of yourself and to the infinite flow of the universe. The spiritual power of silence is not confined to secluded temples or mystical retreats. It is available to us all, in every moment, waiting to be embraced. By choosing silence, by stepping away from the constant noise of the world, you create the space for wisdom, healing, and growth. In this space, you find not just peace, but the energy of creation itself. Now, as you leave this exploration, ask yourself, what would your life look like if you embraced silence more fully? What inner truths could you uncover if you allowed yourself to sit with your thoughts in stillness? What power could you awaken by letting go of the noise and simply being? As you reflect on these questions, remember, the journey into silence is not an end, but a beginning. Each moment of stillness is a doorway to a deeper connection, a more profound understanding, and a richer experience of life. Thank you for joining this exploration into the spiritual power of silence. May you carry the wisdom of silence with you as you move forward, and may you find the peace and transformation that await in the quiet spaces of your life. If you found this video meaningful, make sure to subscribe, so you don't miss more insights into the mysteries of the universe. Share your thoughts or experiences with silence in the comments. How has silence impacted your life, or how do you plan to incorporate it more fully moving forward? Until next time, stay curious, stay still, and stay connected to the deeper truths of the world around you.